Okay, here we go. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Chicago IANDS. This is September 2025. So glad to see you. I can't even begin to tell you. But anyway, we're going to start the meeting as we usually do with a brief meditation with my native flute. And so if you have things on your lap or you're not comfortable, try to get yourself comfortable so that we can take a few minutes to connect spiritually. Let your eyes gently close and go where you go when you go. Welcome back. Glad to see everybody. Um, just briefly, I wanted to mention that next month our speaker is Sarah Murray. And Sarah had a near-death experience when she was younger. I believe she was pregnant at the time, or I don't remember exactly, but something close to that. And it changed her life dramatically, and she's very, very looking forward to sharing it with you all. So I hope you all will join us next month. Um, Another quick thing is, since we've been online since the pandemic started, our donations are way down, so we don't have enough every month to pay for our expenses. Um, so Any donations would be greatly appreciated. You can go to our website and click how to donate there. Uh, and we would appreciate that. Thank you. And that if I wanted to just briefly mention that the IANDS conference at the Hilton Oak Brook was uh, really a big success, and things are looking up for IANDS, which is good. So Evan Meacham was in charge, and he did an excellent job. So, um, and then I talked briefly with Eric about talking about how I first met him, and I think that's as good an introduction that there can be, because it was totally miraculous and life-changing for me. I don't remember exactly when it was. He was giving a workshop at the Unity Church in Chicago. I think it was about 20, maybe 25 years ago, 90s, anyway. I heard about it, and I didn't know anything about him, but I heard about it, and he was giving a free Friday night lecture followed by a workshop over the weekend. It gave people a chance to get acquainted with his work and so on and so forth. So I thought, well, that's good. And Kathy Vanderplug, who was formerly on our board, who has now passed, Kathy and I decided we'd go. And we went and we sat down in the front row. And he had a massage table up there in front of us. And a person was sitting on the massage table because he was going to do a demonstration. And I don't remember all the things that happened in between, but he started to do the demonstration, and he raised his hand behind the person that he was going to do the healing for, and the energy went probably through him. I don't know. It came directly through me. Now, a little previous information about me: I'd had a hysterectomy back in the 80s. And when the doctor did it, she didn't do it, didn't do a good job. And within a few weeks, all the stitching in my belly came undone. And I had to have the surgery redone about 3 months after the original surgery, and by another doctor. And when I woke up from that surgery, I felt like I had a knife sticking in my back. I had so much pain, I can't even begin to tell you. They gave me morphine, they gave me everything, nothing touched the pain. And for a month, I was incapacitated totally, and then I began to be able to move around a little bit, but I was in horrible pain all the time, in the middle of my back, slightly to the right of the center. And when I was sitting there in front of Eric and he raised that energy went zap right through my back, and the pain was gone. And I had had the pain for 20 years, so it must have been around 2000, or maybe shortly after, so about 20 years ago. So um, anyway, it was a shock to me. I was stunned by what happened, and I was amazed, and I immediately signed up for his workshops. I took the first one here, I think, and then I know I went to one in Philadelphia where I met his parents and had a long talk with his mom and tried to get his mom to be a speaker for Chicago IANDS, because she had a near-death experience when he was born, as did he, as I recall. And uh, and then there was a third location so I learned how to do it, but I knew that my life was not, I wasn't meant to be a healer. That wasn't my path. My path was to run Chicago IANDS, and I was also a flute teacher. I taught flute for many 50 years or so. So I knew that's what I was supposed to do. But I also knew I was supposed to learn about these things. And man, I read his book cover to cover over and over, and I told everybody about it because it was stunning. Just a stunning healing and completely instant. And there's kind of a PS to it. I don't know how long it was, maybe 10 years later. Uh, I had had no pain there, and I twisted my back or something, and it was a little bit painful. And I heard that Eric was coming to town to do something somewhere. And so I called to see if he would be willing. It was the weekend of our meeting. We're always on the second Saturday. And I called, and he agreed to be our speaker. And he and Jillian, his wife, were coming in on Friday night. And I agreed to pick them up at the airport about 11 o'clock at night, as I recall. And on the way from the airport to the Sheraton Hotel on Willow Road uh, is where they were staying, and so I took them there. And on the way to the hotel, reminded him of the wonderful healing he had given me before, and I said, I twisted my back recently or something, and it hurt. And this dear man, I have no words for you, Eric. You were fabulous. He didn't miss a beat. We got to the hotel. He said, "Wait here." He went in and got Jillian settled in the hotel, and he came back and he said, "Okay, to your house." It is midnight on a Friday night, and he came to my house, and my massage table was in my daughter's messy room, which was waist deep and stuff. And he waded through the my daughter's messy room and got the massage table and set it up and gave me a healing, and took the massage table back into my daughter's messy room, and and wouldn't let me take him back to the hotel. He took an Uber back to the hotel. He said, "You go to bed," and he gave me that second wonderful healing. So, this is beyond the call of duty. This is heart action in vivid detail, service beyond all expectations. And I am so grateful for this man. And um, I'm so glad we have him back. And I'm going to let him take over from here and tell us how he got to be who he is and what he's doing with it now.
You're going to trust me?
I trust you. Oh,
Okay.
you you got me. You got me. I'm your biggest fan.
All righty. Um, First of all, totally unrelated to our discussion today, or maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I just have to say, Kim E., that's a wonderful picture. I don't know whether you painted it or not, but I love that picture of you or someone holding that white cat. So just commenting. Anyway, how many people? Yeah, the little picture on her square instead of her face at the moment. Hopefully we'll all have faces here, or a lot of us soon, because it's kind of nice to
See
talk with
people.
people. Yeah, it's just I feel more alive when I see people instead of names and pictures and such.
Excellent. I agree. I
Yeah.
like to see people too. Hi, everybody. People are
Hey everyone. So let's talk. I think what I'd like to do is I'll share a little bit about my mother's, I'm going to call it a life after death experience, as Raymond Moody originally titled his book. I know it's become very trendy for a long time, so it's not even a trend any longer to call it an NDE or a near-death experience. Um, but as my mother and many people have said, if you've had that experience, you know that you weren't near death. She died and she
Yep,
came back,
right.
um, which really is an amazing invitation for us to review what we consider death. The point is, there is no death.
Exactly.
There is what we consider the death of the body, In essence, every experience that we have has a beginning, a middle, and an end. That's why it's an experience. It's finite, but you are not finite. Many of you have glimpsed or more than glimpsed so far. You're infinite. So even our experience here in human form is finite. We're born, we live, and as it's referred to in the more dualistic material world, we die, but we don't, you know? You were here before this physical form, and you and I will continue afterwards. It's just how it is. Now, does that mean that it's not fun to explore some of the different stories? Do we come back as someone else or something else or, on another planet or maybe, maybe. But I think what a lot of us who have experienced an NDE, I'm saying us, and the truth is I didn't experience that NDE in a way that I would recall it. But I'll tell you about that in a little bit. Um, See, and I just tangentially said something and didn't finish my sentence, and now I don't know where it was, but it'll come back, um, because we do.
Hmm.
I think we've recognized the infinite. So let's talk about it this way. I know that Diane likes to talk to people about what their life was like before their um, NDE or life after death experience and what it was like after. So if I tell you what my life was like before, it's very brief. I was in the womb. That's all I can tell you. I was in the womb. My mother, and I'm doing the best I can to recall this story. It's the whole second chapter in my first book. And I didn't even reread it. So I'm going by memory. But it's nice to hear, Diane, that you invited her to speak there. I'm sure she didn't. I finally got her to sit down with a tape recorder and share the story as best as she could. So I do sort of have that. But anyway, she was lying on the table, ready to deliver in the hospital. And she started hearing motors, very loud motors, turning. I don't remember if they were turning on or off. It's in the book. But she felt that she heard them starting at her ankles, and then they were moving up towards her knees. And she was looking around the room and she was wondering why no one was seemed to be noticing or commenting on this. And they went up further towards her hips and her waist, and she did everything to get someone's attention. But she couldn't, and she knew. She knew. I haven't told this story in a while. She knew that if it got to her heart, she would die. And she didn't want to die because she was about to give birth to her first child, me. So it continued. And all of a sudden, the next thing she knew, she wasn't in her body any longer. Now, I'm sure we've all heard very many near-death experiences, life after death experiences, Anita's, and um, Raymond's talking about it. And actually, Daniel Brinkley, I'm actually presenting with Daniel Brinkley in a month or so in Florida. But anyway, and they all, for the most part, have a thread of continuity that runs through them so you can recognize it as such. But they also vary. They vary in many interesting ways. Um, People who are Hindu might see one of the Hindu gods. People who are Christian may see Jesus. People who are Muslim may see Muhammad. Um, I don't think that what we see is the definitive answer. I believe that what we see and experience during a life after death experience is the perfect, unique design of infinite being. Call it God, call it love, call it that great watermelon in the sky. Who the heck cares? Well, some people do, and they'll kill you for not calling it the name they think it is. But outside of that, oh, it might be more than a near-death experience. But anyway, um, I believe that we are greeted by something that appears in the form that is most comfortable for us as a welcoming. I can only share my beliefs. I am certainly not stating this as fact. Actually, at this point, I think anyone who states anything much about the experience itself um, of life after death, if they state it as fact, I would smile and go, okay, well, I can't pay that much attention to it if I can't say, we really don't know. You know, three of the most powerful words to string together, if we can just get through the ego, are I don't know. Because when we say we know, we put everything, we place it into a box, a container of limitation, and we only see what's in the box. And anything outside of the box, we dismiss. And really, when we're willing to look at what's outside of the box of what we think we know, we get to discover things. And we say, well, I don't know about this. And I don't really understand how it could be that. But if I can put this together with this and this together with this, then I can potentially see more. And really, it's the exploration, our willingness to explore that reveals so much, makes so much discovery. But so back to this. My mother left her body. And she passed through what she described as the first level layer of beings, people who have left the body, which, as I recall, was just, was a lovely experience. And there was a second level and maybe a third, and there was one, just one, that she would call the level or the layer of people who had taken their own lives. And that was very uncomfortable. It was not a pleasant experience for them or for her. And people would ask, well, are they there forever? You know, some kind of eternal punishment? No, that's something that a religion's doctrine might try to impose on you, but no. She said she felt that they were there, sort of on hold for a little bit, as they, I don't know, received what they needed to receive in the way of information. I don't know, but that they did move on. And she passed through that. And suddenly she found herself on a lane. She believes that that lane is what most people refer to as the tunnel, but for her, it was like a lane. And she looked around and there were people she'd known, not just in this lifetime, but in many lifetimes. All very welcoming, smiling in a way, indicating, lovingly encouraging her to continue down that path. And she was seeing flowers of colors that she had never seen. As she looked at people and saw them as they saw each other, there was no language, really. One look would convey volumes of information, to use her words. And as she continued moving, wondering why her feet weren't moving, but she was still moving down, somehow down that lane, she saw ahead of her was a very bright, bright light. She really didn't want to look at it. She was almost afraid to look at it because she felt that it was so bright it would hurt her eyes. But finally, she did look at it, and it didn't hurt. She moved closer and closer, and she found herself sort of presented there to that light. And she had what Danyon and others would refer to as a life review. She just said her life was laid out before her. She said it in a way I still find interesting. She knew it was a good life, and yet there was no judgment. You know, in the illusion of duality here, good, bad, how can you say it was a good life and yet there was no judgment? She said, you know it when you know it. And in that, during that time, she had revealed to her what she refers to as the secrets of the universe. She knew everything. Why the grass was green, why the earth is round, how war is a temporary state of barbarism that we will outgrow. I don't know why it's so emotional for me telling this story, but so, excuse me. Um,
Because you're a gay man.
that's why it's emotional. But I mean, if you felt that that was an important comment to make, more power to you. I'll share that with my wife. Anyhow, now, and to be open, yeah, I was gay most of my life, but now I'm very much in love with my life, and I don't consider myself that any longer. Interesting. I really don't know what that has to do with the topic, to tell you the truth. Anyhow, and I don't really think that it's fair to attribute people who allow themselves to be in touch with their emotions to a sexual calling one way or another. It sort of negates, it sort of implies that others who aren't gay are not as in touch with their emotions. I mean, there's a lot of things. So, this is not the main topic of today. So she had one experience that she remembered, just one that didn't feel bad because she felt the emotions of everyone that she had affected in her life. There was one experience that she had as a young girl in the school, and I don't remember what it was, but she lied about something. And she felt really bad about it, but she realized that, that's part of what we're there for in this perfect design of the life review. It has very much importance and value to us. And suddenly she was given the secrets of the universe. That's where it was. Why the sky was blue, why the earth was round, why the grass is green, war being a temporary state of barbarism. And as she was there, it was so beautiful, love-filled, beautiful. She found herself coming back. She was told she had to come back to raise her son. And for all the struggle that she did not to leave her body, not to die in the first place, now she was coming back, and she really didn't want to. And she found herself forgetting the secrets that were shared with her. It was something to be known there, but not to be known here, probably for reasons of learning and lessons and discovery. Again, my assumption. She tried really hard to hold on to these things. She really did. And the next thing she knew, she was being wheeled into a room on a gurney. And my father was walking alongside of her. And she looked up and she said to him, I now know the secrets of the universe. I'm going to tell you because they're leaving me quickly and I want you to write them down. And she did. And he didn't. So let's just say from a human dualistic perspective, that sort of set the nature of a lot of my relationship with my father, feeling as if I had been deprived of the secrets of the universe by him just not bothering to write things down. And there was a lot of that. That was part of his nature. At this point now, I realize that is perfect. He played his role perfectly. It was for me to look into and discover, to be revealed to me as it's appropriate for each of us in our own time, our own way, our own time. And the next thing she knew, she found herself, she was in a room and someone was in the room next to her. And she said, and I'm just mentioning this for no reason other than fact, because it amuses me about my first book and editor. But the woman in the next room said, "You was reciting scripture." And they wouldn't print it that way because they thought that it would sound racial, even though the woman was Caucasian. I mean, we sometimes we just go all over the board with things sometimes, and it really interferes with the accuracy of the communication. It was just that. But anyway, you was reciting scripture from the Bible. Oh, in tongues, in languages. Well, my mother didn't know the Bible. And my mother didn't speak any other languages. So something was going on. Something was happening. And that experience changed her. She'd lost her fear of death. She had told some people about it early on afterwards, but way back then, people weren't really open to it. And she sort of felt she learned quickly just not to share that story with people. And she had stopped. But when I was 5, I think it was 5, when I was in first grade, whatever age, what age is first grade? Does anyone know?
6.
6. Okay. So when I was 5 or 6, I was a November baby. So my grandmother had died. And all I could imagine is being placed into a box and buried 6 feet underground and trapped in that dark box for eternity. It wasn't really a wonderful, warm feeling. So I came home from school one day, I remember, and I went upstairs and I told my mother about that. She immediately stopped what she was doing. And she said, "Well, let me tell you something that I haven't." And she sat me down and told me the story. And from that moment on, I lost my fear of death. So many things that we think just is, we can let go and will change if we allow it. We really can. As I said, I'm very much in love with Jillian, and we've been together for going on 14 years now. And, things that you think are forever aren't, because here I am. And I hope that Jillian and I are forever. I know we will be in whatever form life is. So I lost my fear of death with that. Now, what does that have to do with where we go in life? What do our experience have to do with where we are in life? I pretty much seem to have a fairly normal life, you know? Went to school, had friends, grew up, partied, later did all the wonderful things, all the fun things that we do. And I became a chiropractor. Why? I have no idea why. Well, I kind of do. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. When I was finishing high school, the way you were dealt with at high school is when you were in your graduating year, they brought everyone, each of you individually, down to, I don't know, was it the guidance counselor, whatever name they gave that position, who would sit there with you, and she gave me a list. She gave everyone a list. These are the jobs or professions that you have open to you that you can go into. And I've read the list. There wasn't anything really that appealed. So I went to college. I wasn't going to do anything on that list, I didn't think. Um, and my parents said, you can take a year off of college if you want. I said, no, I really dislike school so much. If I take a year off, I'll never go back. So I better stay. And did a liberal arts education. In my first year, I looked at psychology. I looked at law. I looked at modern dance. I looked at so many things all over the place, like a ping pong ball bouncing around in a ping pong machine. There wasn't really anything there. I mean, I was had a pre-law thing, and someone asked me if I could name the past three vice presidents, and I couldn't. I go, well, that's not the place for me. Um, and it really didn't matter. Even thought maybe I'll become a rabbi for a few years. Well, I wasn't going to do that either, I guess. So I was helping a friend of mine. Oh, so somehow or other in college, I was introduced by some friends to something called Rolfing. I don't know if you know of it, but it's a very deep tissue work, works with the muscles and the fascia, freeing up the body. And I had seen how it's affected my friends, and I experienced it, and it was wonderful, really. Changed my body, changed the way I carried myself, had to get some clothes retailored, because of that. That was that much change. And emotionally, psychologically, it opened me up in new ways. And I thought, I'll become a rolfer. Okay, well, so I go home to visit my parents, and they go, well, maybe you should get a degree in something that's recognized and accepted at that point, a profession anyway. So I have something to fall back on. Why don't you become a chiropractor? So through a friend, I got introduced to a chiropractor who told me the basics, making this real simple. If I say to you, where is your brain? Everyone show me, point. I can see you, point, show me where your brain is. Okay, so we're all pointing to the head, right? Show me where the brain stops. Show me. Where does it end? Okay. No, it doesn't. It just changes shape. It changes from the round sort of shape in the brain to a little sort of a upside down pyramidal shape, which is the brain stem. Then it becomes the spinal cord, which travels throughout the length of the spine. And then in between the bones in the spine, the nerves branch out. And the nerves branch out to finer nerves and finer nerves and finer nerves travel through the body. And eventually, in every cell that's not moving, so it's not happening with your blood cells the same way, but every non-moving cell in your body, you've got 12 approximately nerve fibers, finer than a human hair, attached to each one. And you have feedback between the brain and the cell, the brain and the body, the brain going to the heart, to the liver, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and every cell has a given lifespan, essentially. So you can think of your skin cells are new, I think, every 30 days, your liver cells every 6 weeks. Essentially, you have about a 98% brand new body every 12 months. And as long as the communication between the brain and the muscle tissue, the brain and the heart, the brain and the liver, whatever, stays open, the old cell lives their lifespan, it dies, it's replaced by a new healthy cell, right? Functioning. But what happens is that our nerves run through the spinal cord and come out between the vertebra and the spine. So when we injure ourselves, when there's spasms, when there's long-term problems, postural changes, other things, the twisting of the spine of the vertebra can impede the brain flow. There are different theories on it. Some say that it's pressure in the nerve. Others say really it's changing the positive negative polarity it doesn't matter. It impedes the brain flow. And the old cells turn over when they die. They're replaced by new cells that are less than 100%. Generally speaking, I think the research showed that the cells, if the vertebrae are out of position that replace the old new cells, are about 40% of what they should be. So if that cycle continues, let's say the nerves going to your liver start replacing themselves at 40%, pretty soon your liver isn't able to deal with all the toxins in your body that it does. So it shoots them over to the kidney, but they're not fully processed. So the kidneys don't know what to do with it. Kidneys become overworked, so it shoots it out into the bloodstream. I'm giving you one example. Blood doesn't know how to get rid of it, so it comes out through the skin. What does it come out in? In this particular example, there are infinite ones. Just take this as just one. It comes out through the skin. So now we see a symptom. It's called acne. So go to the dermatologist. What does the dermatologist do? They give you what? Someone say it, or you can't say it. You're on mute. Okay. Antibiotics, right? Nod your head. Say, yeah, I'm here. Yeah. They give you antibiotics, and the antibiotics further stress your liver. And so what happens? The cycle is perpetuated by the supposed cure, which is really not a cure or a healing. It's a treatment for the symptoms. Doesn't change the cause, the imbalance. Just like when people have cancer, for instance, so much of the treatment is addressed toward the tumor, for example, right? And when they finally get rid of the tumor and any other cells they see, then they go, well, you're not really healed yet. Maybe we'll consider it's a healing if it lasts for 5 years. That's usually what they tell you. Why? Because the symptom is all they're treating. The tumor is the symptom. It's not the imbalance. It's not the problem. So anyway, I talked to an old school, what we call principal or philosophic chiropractor, who explained that to me. And I thought, that's pretty cool. I'm going to do that. So I went. Somewhere along the lines, I found so much wonder in really the principled, philosophic, original understanding of chiropractic and the healings that came about for people that I rolf people on the side for fun, but I became a chiropractor and I had a wonderful practice. And healings did happen at that level. And then somewhere in my 12th year of practice, I got re-exposed to this philosophy I just shared with you. Now, why was I re-exposed to it? Because the school systems did their best to knock it out of you. Why? Well, they wanted to be pseudo-medical. They wanted to be accepted by the medical community. The truth is, though, the first chiropractic patient didn't have back pains or headaches. He was deaf. He was just stoned deaf. Harvey Lillard, somewhere in Canada, late 1800s, I believe, 1895 or something like that. And this guy, D.D. Palmer, who I know, why am we talking about chiropractic, but I'll get off of it in a minute. It's a circle that will make sense in a little bit. He noticed a bump in his neck. It was a vertebra out of position, his neck or upper back, clicked on it, and suddenly the guy could hear. So Palmer thought, hey, cure for deafness. So he put out words all over, North America, and people were coming on horses and covered wagons and everything and showing up, and he'd pop their necks and pop their backs, and some of them regained their hearings and some of them lost their hearings. Not really, but it's a funny line. But other things were healing because he was removing an interference that allowed the body to return itself to its natural state of balance. Okay. So somewhere in my 12th year in practice, I had an interesting experience. Things weren't going well with the, what do we want to call it? Things weren't going well with the way the employees and everyone were interacting with one another. There were personality things and other problems and efficiency issues. And finally, I did what a practice management seminar told me I should do, but you haven't lived until you've done this if you have a company. I let everyone go at once. So I was answering the phones, making the appointments, addressing and stamping the envelopes. We didn't have computers at the time, and everything else. And I knew that that couldn't last more than about another day. So I decided to have a friend who was a professional person at hiring people and headhunter. And we brought in people to apply for the position of front desk at least to answer the phones and just handle things. And in they all paraded to open the morning, the doorway. They came in, tall ones, short ones, fat ones, skinny ones, pleasant looking ones, not so pleasant looking ones. And then came in this one woman who was the incarnation of Fran Drescher's character in The Nanny. She looked like her. She spoke like her. And everyone who was on my team helping me make a choice huddled together behind me and said, whatever you do, do not hire this woman. And I had to have her. I just had to. I wanted a personality. I wanted some fun at the office. So I did. And a little bit later, I don't know how far into it, one day she said, we really should go to the beach, which was her way of saying, um, I want to take a day off. Let's go to the beach and you drive. So we did. We went to the beach. And while we were there, we wandered around and bumped into this woman who was reading cards. And she said, you really should have your cards read by her. I said, I really would like to go to, if I had my cards read, I'm not opposed to that, but I want to go to someone who comes with a solid recommendation, not someone sitting on the beach with folding chairs and a card table. But I finally said, all right. So I showed up with the woman and I realized we had just scrambled down to the beach so quickly that I really didn't have much cash on me and she wasn't set up for credit cards. And she said, well, I've got $5 readings and $10 readings. Which would you want? And I said, I'll take the $5 reading because at least we had a little more money left if we wanted to buy a drink or get some lunch before we drove home from Venice Beach. So she gave me a reading and she started talking to me and she said, I'm skipping a lot of it. It's in detail in the book. I'm just trying to bring you a flavor of it. She said, there's this work that I do and you need to have it done. I said, okay. She said, well, you see, here we get into the story. A long time ago, we were disconnected from a system. There are ley lines in the body that connect us to the planet and then move out to the other stars and planet and connect us to the space in between. And I'm listening to this story and I'm going, And she said, and she can reconnect it for me for just $333. I'm going, oh, yeah, right. Because guess what? You think what $333 means now? Back then in 1993, it was way over $1,000 to have some stranger on the beach come up and take her fingertips and draw lines on my body. And I had to do it in 2 visits yet. But she said, well, all right, you can read about it in this book called The Book of Knowledge, The Keys of Enoch. Have any of you ever heard of that book? If you have, just raise your hand because I can see you. Okay. So I went into a very prominent Los Angeles spiritual metaphysical bookstore called the Bodhi Tree and asked if they had the book. And a woman went over to this shelving unit or a guy and reached up high on a ladder and brought it down and sort of presented it to me, not like they pulled out a book and said, here. And I'm looking at it and it's white and it's got gold embossed letterings on it and very powerful looking. So she told me it's in this book. It's chapter 317. So I opened it up to that chapter. And there's more of it in 314 also, but I opened up to that chapter and I started reading it. If anyone of you has ever tried to read or look at the book, The Keys of Enoch, you'll know that there are 3 things you can't really do with it. You can't quickly skim through it, you can't read it, and you can't understand it. Outside of that, it's a great book. All I know is that I read parts of it and understood them, and other parts I didn't. And I understood more, and other parts I didn't. And finally, I left because it was just a lot of a lot to take in. But I found myself, I went back there a day or two later and I tried to read that same chapter again. And now I understood parts of it I didn't understand the first time, but I didn't understand parts of it that I thought I did understand. And this happened a couple of times. And finally, I even got up the nerve, the audacity to ask them if I could just photocopy that one chapter because I brought it home and I wanted to look at it. And it spends so much time and attention trying to figure this out that I finally called the woman and I thought it would just be cheaper if I paid her the $333 and went. So made my appointment, first of two sessions, showed up at her place in Venice Beach, took off my shoes, lie down on kind of a massage table in her living room, and she took her fingertips, and started like kind of tracing line patterns on my body and moving her hands around. And I was lying there thinking, I really can't believe I paid this woman money to be doing this to me. And there was nothing I noticed, nothing I noticed at all. So anyway, I thanked her very much. Oh, she had me stand up afterwards, get up off the table, ground yourself in your body, place your feet slowly, make sure you have your balance, open your eyes. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't know what you think went on here, lady, but clearly I missed it. But I didn't say it. I thought it. And I left, thinking the only thing more ridiculous than what I had just done is the fact that I knew I had to come back in 2 days for part two. I did. Showed up in part two, took off my shoes, lied down on the table. She did the same kind of thing with her fingertips or hands tracing these lines on my body that she, I guess, knew where they went and I didn't. But this time it was different. Now, I want you to know this was an oppressively hot August day. Okay. In Venice Beach, California, in her little one bedroom, unair conditioned apartment. And I was chilled to the bone. And my body wouldn't lie still. My arm would kick, my legs would kick. I couldn't get comfortable. I forced myself to hold myself still and stayed on the table because I did pay her all that money and I wasn't going to get up and interfere with whatever it was in case I'd mess it up. But I stayed there and I was so cold she'd wrapped me in a blanket. But finally, the session was over. I thanked her. I got into my car to drive home. I remember getting into my car. Okay. I remember placing my hands on the steering wheel and I guess starting the ignition. And then, when you think about driving, you remember yourself driving. No, the car, I was sitting in the car, somehow the car just seemed to float back to my house. I don't even remember being home. I don't remember getting out of the car. I don't remember much of anything from that. But as something had changed. I didn't really know what. All I can tell you is that one night that week later, after work, I went home as per usual, closed the doors, locked it, turned off the light, closed my bedroom door, went to sleep. Now, I'm telling you all that because why? Because there was no one else in the house but my dog. About an hour later, this bright light came bursting through my eyes, and my initial instinct was I was sort of pissed off. I was kind of angry, like, who walked into my room and turned on the light? Except there wasn't anyone there to do that. And I looked around, and my bedroom door was open. All right, kind of creepy. The light was on. And I felt as if someone was in the house so strongly that I got up, found the largest knife that I could. Um, Noticed an old can of pepper spray and I picked it up to maybe look threatening. And my Doberman Pinscher was acting a little abnormal too. She was hiding behind my knees as I went down the stairs, pushing me ahead of her. And it was a big old Spanish house built in 1923. So it had lots of curving staircases and hallways and different entries into the room. So if there was someone in the house hiding, it'd be very easy for them to hide. So I'm looking carefully, cautiously, moving around. But about 15, 20 minutes into it, I realized, well, if I don't get some sleep, I won't be able to function the next day. I'll be wrecked for my patients. So I finally got back into bed and I reached over to the lamp to turn, that little corrugated dark brown plastic knob that's on 90% of all the lamps in the world that you rotate it, clicks on and it clicks off, right? Well, I'm a clicker, you know, my OCD, I click things into place. I close the doors. I screw the tooth cap, the tooth paste cap back on, nothing's left open casually. But I reached to turn that lamp off and it was not clicked into the on position. It was only rotated sufficiently to ignite the lamp. And I thought to myself, I know that wasn't me. I mean, that was not me. But I don't know what to do. Couldn't find anyone in the house. So I figured if they let me live, they let me live. But I'm going to sleep because I've got to be in work the next day. So I went into work. And Heidi, I just love your face as you are so here, right? Every step of the way with a smile. I showed up at my office and my employees just started saying to me, "What happened to you over the weekend? You look different. You sound different." I didn't want to say, well, I paid some very nice Jewish gypsy $333 to draw lines on my body with her fingertips. Why do you ask? So I just kind of said nothing and ignored it. And I went in to adjust my first patient. So I start with the patient on the stomach, as I always did, and then finished on their back and told them to allow their eyes to close for the next 30, 60 seconds, whatever, and just rest and let the adjustment settle into place before you jump off the table. That's what I always told them. Well, when this patient opened his eyes, he looked at me and said, "Who came into the room while I was lying here?" I said, "No one." He said, "The person at the door." I said, "No one came in. Why?" He said, "I felt them there." "No, I heard them there." "No, no one was here." Well, we went back and forth and back and forth. And you know when someone doesn't believe you. I mean, you just do, right? I just figured he was having an interesting day. Okay, chalked it off. Went into the next room to adjust my next patient. When I finished, she opened her eyes and she said, "Who came into the room when I was lying here?" I said, "Nobody." "Why?" She said, "I felt someone." "No, I heard them at the door." "No." Da, 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 da. Well, let's just say no one had ever said this to me before in my 12 years of practice. And on this one day, 7 patients, none of whom really knew each other, I don't think, insisted that someone stood in the doorway, came into the room, walked around them on the table, ran around them on the table, a couple of them, and 2 of them actually looked me straight in the eye. And you could see that they were embarrassed to say it, but they said it. It felt as if someone was flying around near the ceiling. All right, so 7 patients in one day, no one in the previous 12 years. I mean, I'm not going to play ostrich and bury my head in the sand. Something's actually happening. But other patients at the same time that day became just as compellingly fascinating in a different way. Because as I would hold my hands or start to come close to them, they'd open their eyes. They'd look somewhere. I said, "What's it?" "I felt you holding my foot. I felt you holding my shoulder." I could actually have them close their eyes and turn my hands in different directions. They could tell me where they felt that my hands were and which direction my hands were sort of beaming towards, aimed at. I don't know. Um, and when they opened their eyes, well, first of all, while they were lying there, their facial muscles were moving, their eyebrows are going, lips are moving around like that, involuntary movements of the fingers, sometimes in concert like this, sometimes one, sometimes the other, or the feet or other parts. And when they opened their eyes, they told me that they were seeing colors that they had never seen before, smelling flowers, fragrances they had never smelled before. I would ask them about the colors, and some of them would tell me. They go, well, it was generally it was purples. There's a vibrant purple with kind of a light behind it. It often showed up in the shape of a triangle. And then there were blues and greens and golds. No one was saying, gee, it was tan, you know? There were just certain kind of colors. Um, and I said, okay, so if you've never seen these colors before, how is it that you can tell me the name of the color? Right? I said, I don't know. I don't know. I can just tell you. One guy was in animation at one of the studios because I was in West Hollywood, one of the main studios. I can't remember which one in the Valley. And he said, I couldn't possibly, with everything I have at my fingertips, recreate these colors that I'd seen. Just couldn't. All right. One of my patients that day got up out of a wheelchair. We carried it down for him. Others were coming in, didn't need crutches anymore, didn't need this, didn't need that. Not everyone, but a significant number of people had significant healings. Parents of the younger kids were calling me and saying, my 5-year-old with epilepsy who's been on, I don't know, been having 20, 30, I forget, I had the number in the book somewhere, seizures a day, grand mal and petit mal and on these medications, hasn't had seizures all week. And that continued for them. Didn't have seizures, didn't were able to speak and walk and run around and play things. Other people with intestinal diseases like sprue or Crohn's, suddenly weren't having those problems any longer. And everyone's saying, what did you do? I said, I didn't do anything and don't tell anyone. Well, that went over real big. Uh, I mean, what am I going to do? I said, I want to learn. I want to learn. I said, I'm standing here waving my hands in the air looking like a fool. I said, you go outside and do that. Let me know what your neighbors say about you. I don't know how to teach it. I don't know what it is. Well, that process kind of continued. Media came to find out about it. Researchers came measuring, I don't know what they thought they were measuring, fields in the room and energy. They said they were finding new aspects of light that they had not seen before. Informational feedback in the system that they had not seen before. I mean, they were calling it new. They had not seen it before. I mean, if I never saw a refrigerator before, I don't know that a refrigerator would be new, but if I'd never seen it, it would be new to me. And maybe there weren't any before. I don't know. What I do know is that a significant number of people, as I said, were having significant healings. And they seem to be, I don't like the word permanent because it makes it sound as if it's just dead and still. And it was too short of a time at that time to say lifelong, but it's not now. Lifelong. Not everyone. Some people might give up their healing or have an up and down, but most people had it. It wasn't functioning like getting your hair colored. You didn't need to go back every, 3 weeks for a touch up. It was just there. And it happened like that. There was no, as we understand now further from what's revealed to us, but there was no time involved. No time, no distance, no space. I remember showing a friend who had driven in from Florida one time what was happening. He came and I'm showing him, I'm in one room working with someone and her body's moving like this, and in another room with someone else, and the eyebrows are moving in another room, other physical things are happening. And walking down the hall, and I'm showing him, and I got by one room and the person wasn't moving. And I'm way out in the hallway with my friend. The door was open. We looked in and I moved my hands like that as if I could feel them. And the body started to respond. I go, oh my God, this is not functioning the way we know of energy functioning. I mean, we think, we say the further away you get from the source of energy, the weaker it becomes. I mean, that's been basically considered science, but This is clearly more than just energy as we know it. It was energy, light, and information in a field. It didn't get weaker with distance, and it didn't get weaker with time. It just is. It's like our body. Our bodies may change and become weaker with time, but we don't. You're infinite. Before the body, in the body, after the body, under the body, whatever words we want to use. More and more people were clamoring to learn it. Finally, I went to a place called the Learning Annex, which had like 4 locations, I think, in California and 1 in New York. I said, all right, I'll try. And they got together a group of about 25 people. And I remember driving there. I really do. Even in the car driving there, even when I got in the parking lot, I'm making notes. I'm writing down, I should tell them this, that, and the other. I got into the room and I looked at them and they looked at me. I opened the massage table. We looked at each other and I went, shit, that's not going to work. And I actually crumbled the paper and threw it away. I said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you this kind of a story, which I did. And believe me, there's much more to it. There's much more to it, which you can read if you want. And then I'm going to let you feel it in your hands. Somehow in the feeling, this energy, light, information, healing, whatever, was communicated with the other person. Really what it was is recognized. Well, we'll touch on that later. And so I let them feel it. And they had turns individually. So one person would lie down on the table, the other would bring their hands over, begin to move. The person lying down had their eyes closed. They would feel something in their hand, the person standing. I showed them, I said, pull with it, stretch with it, wiggle your fingers a little, and just, play with it, just play. And the people's bodies started changing. They were having healings right there, and I wasn't the one facilitating them. Okay. All I know is at the end of that day, I released 25 new healers onto an unsuspecting planet. The phones in my office started ringing so much, no one could handle them. And I had to go out and buy my very first computer, which is a whole other story. But anyhow, I went to other places that the Learning Annex had. And I went to New York and I flew places because I realized that this isn't, nor can it be about me. It's about healing. So it was sort of as if my perception of it at that time, because if you read the Reconnection, it's like in 40 languages, but it was written back in 2000, published in 2001. It has a more dualistic perspective to it. It was if the energies had come in and if we're igniting and blah, blah, blah. I mean, if you read the most recent book, the 3rd book, it's called The Direct Path to Healing. And you'll see that the language is different. If you read the one in between, it's the channeled information that came in, and that's a whole other thing. And I'm working on a 3rd and a 4th, right? A 4th and a 5th book, actually, at the same time. Who would have thought? But I lost my tendency, my continuity. What did I say, Diane, right before that? Was I leading up to?
Why would I want to?
Say? I can't hear you, Diane. I can hear the other person who decided to announce whatever. No, I don't remember.
Traveled to New York, and you traveled to New York with the Learning Annex.
Right. So anyway, more and more people were learning this work. Television started asking me to come on, and I said, fine, I'll come on and I'll talk about it. People who had their healings came on and shared their stories, and you could see the reality of it. That was the time that ambush television started happening on some of those talk shows. Who was that blonde, attractive woman who had a talk show and she's still around? I can't remember her name right now. And the other one who had the red glasses and things. And so you'd be interviewed thinking that it was, going to be a friendly interview because you know how people respond to hearing about the healings. Like they're all fascinated and they want to know about it. And I would tell a story and people weren't responding the way they normally did. I didn't know why. And then someone in the audience would raise their hand and with what I thought would be a question. And the guy would stand up in full makeup. So you realize that he was planted there and you go, well, haven't you ever heard about spontaneous healings, and different things like that? And I said, well, yeah, but isn't it amazing how many spontaneous healings are happening in my office? So I understand why people want to learn this. I mean, there's no question that could be posed or asked that didn't just have a real answer from the heart, from being, from recognition. There was nothing to memorize. There was nothing to defend. It is what it is, like God, love, infinite being, whatever word you want. So that went on. People started to learn, and then TV shows started calling me and asking me if I would give a demonstration of the healing. Well, that scared the crap out of me because I thought to myself, what if it doesn't work? I mean, the truth is, healing doesn't come with a guaranteed intended result. It just doesn't. You might think you want something in your elbow to heal, and your mother might think you want something in your elbow to heal. And how many of us have ever gotten something we wanted only to find out we didn't really want that? Well, God says, ha ha ha, this is the healing for you, and if you're lucky, you get the healing that you think you want. If you're truly fortunate, you get one you haven't even dreamed of, one that the universe has designed uniquely, specifically for you. Wow. I like that. It was a little, someone said, why didn't my shoulder heal? I said, I don't know. We tried, but and then they said, but I wasn't able to see out of my left eye for the past 40 years and now I can see fine. So you just don't know. Then I finally decided, okay, I'll do demonstrations of the healings. So I did. And I would teach the seminars on Saturday and Sunday. I'd give demonstrations on Fridays. I'd bring someone on air. I would, thank God, and I mean it, these people had their healings. But you have to realize there are some things you're just not in charge of. You're just not. And once in a while, if the healing didn't happen, I just have to tell them what I'm sharing with you. You just, I mean, it sounds, you could say to a hard skeptic, it sounds as if what I'm saying would be a cop out. But you know what? That means to a hard skeptic, the truth sounds like a cop out. I understand why. I'm a type A personality. You didn't leave a conversation or an argument with me without one of two things happening. You either agreed with me or you were really good at pretending to agree with me. That's how type A I was. Now, here's the biggest thing that's affecting my life and has now affected millions of people in hundreds of countries around the world. Most significant thing I can think of, and A, I can't prove it, and B, I was all right with that. Science came to prove it. Researchers from the Olympic teams in Russia and in England and in South America, science came to prove it. And they were spending a lot of time and money doing that. They'd sit back, there'd be machines set up and things that they'd want me to be 3 inches away, 6 inches away, from with moving my hands by a measure thing. And then I'd sit down on a sofa across the room and talk with the researchers. And I say, so when this happens and the machine would start moving even bigger and you watch, it was like their teeth were going to fall out of their mouths. But it looked like it was me. It was a gift. It is a gift. But we think of this kind of a gift as something that's given to someone or a few. If we step back a few yards, a few meters, we start to see that a gift continues giving. and it's shared pretty much with everyone. As I would demonstrate on the stage before a training program, I'd bring one up for healing. I say, give me an example of someone who like can't bring their arms up over their head and hasn't for years and has medical records and this, that, and the other, or can't close their hands, or documentation and files. And I'd go to the person who had the most solid medical background and and medical files on it and everything, surgeries, whatever. And then we'd bring them up and I'd do a demonstration of the healing, and suddenly they could, and the pain was gone. And I wanted to show people it was possible. And instead, it looked to them as, oh, the great and wonderful Oz, you know, is doing healings on the table. And he can do it, but I can't. And I suddenly realized I needed to bring people up. I'm going to bring up the skeptic. So first I'd say, okay, here we go. Someone has a problem, show me. And I'd bring them up. Medical documentation, yes. I say, okay, now, who here is the drag along? And people would laugh because they understood. Who's the drag along? Who doesn't believe in it, thinks it's a pile of crap, and wouldn't be here if your husband or wife didn't make you come? So then the response would be the drag along wouldn't raise their hands. 6 people around them would all point. So you have to raise your own hand if you want to come up. So the guy'd come up. I'm a medical doctor and I don't believe it. Fine, come on up. So I had him come up. I'd let the person feel it in their hands. Just imagine if you don't feel it. I don't know if I feel it. Well, maybe I feel something. Even if you don't, just pretend. Then I say, okay, here's this person. Can't raise their left hand. I just want you to play with their right hand. Just play with it. Just feel it. But the problem is in their shoulder. I don't care. Just play with their right hand. So I'd start to move. The volunteer would start to move, and the fingers would respond, and he was feeling something. So, okay. So I'd say to the person who came up who had the problem with their left shoulder, I said, all right, so remind us, everyone, how high is it that you can move your arm? And he go, it will only go, and it went all the way. So now we realized that it does not have to do with faith, hope, or belief. Okay. I realized that in my office, the people who were coming in for healings, they weren't coming in for healings. They were coming in way before this for chiropractic. They were coming to see a chiropractor, and I thought I was one. Can't double blind a study much better than that, can you? And the healings were happening. No intention, no anticipation, no, I really believe in it. Crap, as a matter of fact, the truth is, the people who came in saying it has to work. I know it works. I've read every book on healing there is. I'm wearing all the right crystals over the right chakras, blah, 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 blah. Sometimes they were the ones that it took a while because that attachment was a constriction, whereby the person who came in said, I think this is nuts and I wouldn't be here if my wife didn't make me come. And I don't believe in it. So whatever you do, doesn't matter. And I say, well, all right, your wife came in for a session. She wanted you to have a session. You flew halfway across the US. Here you are in lovely Southern California. Believe it or not, worse things do happen to people. So why don't you just say to yourself, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I'm just going to take this as an opportunity to lay down and close my eyes for half an hour and take a nap in the middle of the day and then go on. These people would have the healings. There was no attachment to constrict it. Guess what? It's the same for those of you who choose to learn healing. The last weekend here in this month is the first time in 7 years. Jillian and I are teaching in Chicago. We're teaching here in Chicago that weekend. We're teaching we're sharing. We've been guests at a couple of seminars by our other teachers, 2 others over the past year or 2. But anyway, and I'm looking forward to it. And one of the key insights is understand the rules are the same for the healer and the healee, to use funny language. What does this have to do with a near-death experience? Everything. Because during your near-death experience, you know who you are. The shackles are gone because they're recognized as illusion. You don't have to do anything to be. You don't even have to move your mouth or talk to share communication and volume or to know who someone is. It's the same thing with healing. There isn't some special healer who lives in a cave in a mountaintop in Tibet that you need to spend your money and travel to and bring your family because there's no one who's going to babysit for a week. I mean, there just isn't. It's you. Healing doesn't come in and land in you. Healing reveals itself to you. If you checked into a hotel at night and you went to sleep and you woke up in the morning, you opened the curtains and you looked outside and you saw a park you were overviewing with green trees and flowers, you wouldn't go, oh my God, where did all that come in from? You know? Did someone from Jupiter fly it in and plant it at night? No, it was there the whole time. It was just hidden, it was just obscured. Like when we, what are common examples of obscured? It's like you walk outside and you go, oh, the sky is gray. No, it isn't. Fly above the clouds. What color is the sky? Blue. It's always blue. Blue, blue, blue. But we don't see it. And our experiences obscure our beingness from seeing who we are. You're angry, someone cuts you off at traffic. You're anxious, you're racing to the airport. You're this, that, or the other. It could be positive, sensations too. I'm angry, I'm late, I'm aggravated, I'm so pissed off. Da, da, da. Everything that follows I am is the experience. That hides I am. Think of something you're annoyed at. Go, I was so pissed at da 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 da. I am pissed, I am pissed. And then just soften the word pissed for a moment if you want to. Give a little space between I am. Here, try it with me. Say, I am pissed. Think of something that really pissed you off because I want you to feel it. Say, I am pissed. Okay. Say it again. Got it. Now, say, I am, and pause for a few seconds before you say the word pissed. Again.
I am
Pissed. Okay. Now, soften. This is not a psychological thing, which you'll see in a minute. Soften the volume only of the word piss. So I am, pause, pissed off. Okay? Say it. What do you feel? You feel the last word, right? You feel the experience. So now say, I am. Again, I am. Feels quite different, doesn't it? I am allows you to experience the beingness, the presence that you are. It doesn't have edges. It doesn't have anger. It doesn't have all the external things that don't allow us to see who we are. It doesn't have the closed curtains in the hotel room hiding the garden and the park when you open it up. And it doesn't keep you in the illusion that someone else is a healer, but not me. You know what? I promise. I can promise people who come and learn reconnective healing, at least when we're teaching it. I say, A, you'll be able to facilitate by the end of this weekend anything and everything in the way of healing that I can. And B, you'll be able to facilitate anything and everything in the way of healing that any human being now or ever walking the planet can. It's your choice, what you allow yourself to see. People go, well, maybe religions will have their own things that they're worried about breaking through. Someone say, well, only Jesus can do healings. Well, then, if you want to use that role model, for example, Jesus is the one who said what? I'm paraphrasing, but you know the meaning of it in John whatever the number is. These things that I do, A, you shall do, B, and more. These things that I do, you shall do, and more. So if doing the same thing doesn't piss some people off as Jesus, the and more really, it's a lot for them. But, pick your role model. And if that's your role model, then follow their teachings. Don't edit them. But that's not what this is here about. Reconnective healing has no religion. Reconnective healing has no technique. No technique. It is not an energy healing technique. Techniques are divisions of otherness, separators. Remember the old-fashioned ice cube tray? You'd fill it with water and have the dividers into 12 compartments or whatever. So you put the water in, the water's all communicating. It all came from the same source, your tap or whatever you're using, your bottled water. You divide it. It's not really divided. So we want to make sure that they're separate. We put them in the freezer for a while until they look like they're all each individual. Ultimately, they're still in communication with each other. Leave them alone for a little while and you'll watch. It'll return to water. It'll return to being water, solid, gas, up into the air, to the clouds, brings it down, cycles in rain. There is no separation. There is no otherness in healing. As soon as we think, I'm the healer and you're the healee, we start living in the illusion of otherness. I can see your faces. I can feel you from seeing your faces. I feel you. If you allow yourself, you'll feel me because you and I are one with everyone and everything. The molecules in my teacup, you're one with. We are that. And we're one with God. Sorry, that can upset some people. We're one with everyone and everything. We're one with God. Stop looking outside of ourselves. You know what's the most difficult thing to see? The most difficult thing to see, I'm looking down here because I want to quote this properly when I get there. If you're not sitting in front of a mirror, the most difficult thing for you to see right now are your eyes. There's no distance. Japanese Zen master Hakuin Ikaku says, not knowing how near the truth is, not seeing our eyes, not knowing how near the truth is, we seek it further and further away. We seek it in division. We seek it in separation. We seek it in our energy healing techniques. I learned this form of Reiki and that form of Reiki and that form of Qigong and this form of Jin Shin and quantum this and mattress that and da-da-da-da-da. I've learned all the different protections. I know how to pull up the imaginary zippers. I know when to shake the energy off into salt water. It shouldn't escape anywhere and to spray myself down with alcohol. I know whether I should move my hands clockwise or counterclockwise, although it does get confusing if I'm doing a healing on a plane and I cross over the equator. This, that, or the other. We just give our power away to steps, procedures, shoulds, shouldn'ts, techniques, objects, crystals, wands. Nothing that requires effort. Nothing that requires effort is sustainable. Sit in your favorite yoga position, promise you, you're not going to be able to stay there for 24 hours. Meditate. You're not going to be able to stay there for 24 hours. Our energy healing techniques are the dividers in the ice cube trays. I've learned this ice cube technique and this one, and this one, and this one, and this one, and this one. And now I want more. Why do we seek more? Because we enjoyed it? No, because we realize that we are fullness, unlimited, infinite. And those divisions of ice cubes are subsets, portions, fragments, fractions. Our energy healing techniques are fragments of healing. The words might not say that. They might say, oh yeah, you're going with infinite, whatever. But it doesn't matter. If we've separated it and done it this way, but not that way, it's a fragment. You can't technique your way into healing any more than you can technique your way into love. You can't. The ultimate design of an energy healing technique, pretty much most any technique, is to self-dissolve. It's only our ego that's afraid to let go. You let the ego run, you're going to show your kid how to ride a bicycle with training wheels, and then you're going to add a second and a third set, thinking it makes them better. They won't be able to ride the bike. We have to let the techniques dissolve and to stand on our own. And that way, all the water in the tray reconnects with itself. Reconnective healing. It's coming back. Not that healing was ever really divided, but our perceptions are. Our understanding of it is in division, duality, otherness. All reconnective healing is, all reconnection is in recognizing that we've never disconnected, not cerebrally, but it becomes a felt knowingness. And as you witness this, for example, if you're learning, at one of our seminars or training programs, as you witness it, once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you know it, you can't unknow it. You can try, but you can't. And once you know truth, truth doesn't require, it doesn't even invite defense, does it? Knowingness doesn't invite defense any more than you're walking on a beautiful day, seeing and smelling flowers, and you smile, and your smile doesn't require defense. So you discover that standing there in that beingness, in that recognition, people are having healings with you right there in the massage tables in a seminar room, right around when you do it later on your own, and they don't need to be in the same room. Jillian and I facilitate healings for people all around the world. We happen to do some at one place, one or two places here in Chicago where we are. We keep it kind of quiet. If you call the office, they'll let you know. But basically, they're distance healings. And people really were more willing to discover this during COVID. Embracing your power. There's a gift to everything, no matter how ugly or horrible it appears. There just is. It's the same knowingness as you're gliding down that lane or in the tunnel toward the light, and you see everyone from this lifetime and others, and you suddenly realize that you're one. You suddenly realize that you're love. You don't use a technique, do you? You're not in fear and needing for protections when you're communicating with them. You realize that you are love. And if you're one with everyone and everything, then we're all love. In essence, you could say we love everyone. Well, what about that neighbor you can't stand? I didn't say you like everyone, but we love everyone because we're love. It's funny. I just looked up at the clock now for the very first time in our talking, and it's 3:33, which is a whole other part of the story. We'll get into both this. But people say, well, I don't think I'm not a healer. Bullshit. There isn't anyone who isn't. Well, yeah, but you're able to do this because you had that experience with your mother or because of whatever reason they come up with. I'm sorry. There is nothing that I can do or anyone else on this planet can do in the way of healing that you won't be able to once you allow yourself, and I'll show you, to see it. Felt knowingness, that felt recognition. Now, treatment, out the window. Oh, I've got this problem. Can you fix it? I've got that problem. Can you fix it? I've got a liver problem. Can you fix it? My shoulder hurts. Can you fix it? I have a headache. Can you fix it? You know what? Take an aspirin. It's quicker and it's cheaper. Healing doesn't focus on the symptom. Can you shrink the cancer tumor? Healing doesn't focus on the symptom. Now, does the headache tend to go away? Do the tumors tend to vanish? Did the pain in the shoulder go? Are people getting up and walking and talking? Yes, but not because as a healing facilitator, you're going, I'm going to work on that. You're not walking out in the backyard pointing up to God and say, God, all right, here's the thing. This person needs this over here. Do it this way. I'm going to help you out. I'm going to show you what to do. You might as well finish that statement with, and by the way, every Thursday, God, I teach a seminar on how to transcend your ego, and you might want to come because there's always something for everyone to learn. I mean, we're so busy telling the infinite. Sometimes realize the gift of facilitating the healing is being invited in to observe. People say, well, why are you needed for the healing? I said, I'm not. I promise you. Someone needs a healing. God's voice is not going, all right, where's that Dr. Pearl when I need him? Where are David and Debbie Rosales when I need them? No. You're invited. Healing is an invitation. It's an opening. It's a portal. It's an invitation for you to step through it. It's not that you're being pushed, and it's not that you're being pulled. I mean, that someone else is going to pull you through. You might have a pull to step through it. And we look at a doorway. If you look at a doorway in your room, you go, okay, if I open that door and I walk in, I can be there. Open that door and I walk in and I can be there. The doorway, the portal is the healing. It isn't taking you to it. It is the healing. You can't send a healing. I can't send a healing from here to Florida. Well, wait a minute. You just said you do distance healing. So I guess distance is an illusion anyway. You can't send it. If I could send something to you, that would mean, first and foremost, that you and I were different. I'm here, you're there. I'm me, you're you. So why am I talking about seeing yourself in everyone and everything? Because then you suddenly realize, you take it from the cerebral, and there's a felt knowingness, especially when you witness it, especially when you play with this, that you are one. Now, if you are one, can you send something to yourself? Yeah, maybe if you go to UPS, but you get what I'm saying. How can you send something to yourself? You want to try something funny? If you're in a place where you can stand up, you don't need to put your book down or worry about the camera or anything else. Just stand up. Go now. Stand up. Keep the sound on. Just stand. Ready? I mean, I would love to see your faces after this, but I'll see them when you sit down. So don't aim your face towards me. Stand up, Ruth. Don't change the camera. Just stand. Yeah. Come on, Neela. You can do it. You can do it if you can do it. Great. All right, here we go. Ready? Take a step toward yourself. Yeah, right. Go ahead, sit down. Can't do it. You can't do it because you're one. You can't connect with God. Oh my God, I can't connect with God. Why are you saying that? You can't. You're already one with God. What about the fears we have to call in these angels to the healing and these protectors and I should call God into the healing, right? So who thinks you should call God into the healing? And the hands will go up in the room. Who knows that God is everywhere? The hands go back in the room. Well, if God is everywhere, then where are you calling God in from the airport? Why do we do things, think things, pretend to go through actions or movements that we know inside are not truth? They're not truth and integrity. They're based in fear. How can calling God in be based in fear? Because it's the fear of not knowing that you are one already with infinite being, Allah, God, whatever word you want to use. That's the fear. Why do we do group healings? Fear. If there's 2 of me or 6 of me, the healing will be stronger. Really? So what if you do group healings with 6 people for a week? And then one day someone needs a healing and it's a weekend, it's a holiday, people are away, it's just you. You're saying to yourself, well, I had 5 other people here. I'm probably not really as powerful and strong with the healing by myself. The truth is that's the strongest. Because holographically, if you're 6 people standing around a table, for instance, or working a distance to heal someone, well, you can't be more than 100%. So now each of you is 1/6, right? What is 6 times 1/6 on a hologram? Is it 100%? No, it's 1/6. Send the other 5 people off to empower themselves and facilitate healings for others, and you allow yourself to be the infinite 100% being that you are, and you will see the healings rise and change phenomenally because you've unleashed yourself. Let go of having the right crystals or statues or colored candles in the room because you're telling yourself that you need help, and then you're believing yourself. It's not fair to the people who come to you, even about not being fair to you. You're not allowing yourself to step into the being that you are. I want you to know I'm not suggesting anything that I haven't gone through myself. I remember standing in my chiropractic offices, seeing patients. Isn't that funny? I was sitting here going, what am I going to talk about for 2 hours? You'll notice my mouth has not stopped moving, except to sip tea. And people were bringing me all these things. Okay. You need this crystal and that crystal, this statue, the other. You need to put these flowers over here so that doesn't happen, so that does happen. You need to breathe in the negative energy and shake it out into bowls of salt water and spray yourself off with alcohol just in case any splatters on you. Do all these things. Oh, and if the healings goes away, give them NLP anchorings where they can, put an anchor into their fingers and then go back and bring it back again. And when you tell someone, here's an anchor in case the healing leaves, what are you telling them? Healing's going to be gone, right? Which is just not true. It's a fear-based illusion. And I remember saying to myself one day, because I'm doing all these things, and I'm noticing that the healing seemed to be less and less. Now that's having me bring in more things to help it. Remember what Queen Kaku said? We search for it further and further away. And that's what I was doing. And one day it just struck me. I said, this is not right. I gave away all the bowls of salt water and the spray bottles of alcohol and the people I had brought in to the office to change the saltwater bowls because you're not supposed to touch it because you're the healer. And all these crystals, I gave them all away because I said, if this is my life, as I know inside that it is, I must know that this is real. And there's only one way. I have to allow it to stand or fall on its own. Otherwise, if I'm doing little things to help it, hide it, disguise it, support it, I will never know. You will never know. Give them away. The little thing that's protecting you from EMF energy, it's only protecting the person who made it their bank account. Promise you. Give it away and don't poison the person that you're giving it to by telling them what it's supposed to do for them. That's the poison you're freeing yourself from. If you feel the need to keep it because some of you spent so much money on it, then put it in a box of Christmas ornaments and hang it on your tree once a year. And after a few years, you can look at it and go, I don't need this crap any longer. And then you'll give it away because it's effort even to keep it. And as we said, anything that requires effort is not forever. It just is not forever. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of upset about this. There is. People say, you're making fun of techniques. You're saying that they're useless. You're calling them training wheels. Training wheels are very important. They help you find your balance. But the true gift comes only once you remove them. The reveal comes only once you open what's been obscuring the view, what's been obscuring you from you. You're revealing yourself to yourself. And in that very presence, see, in the very presence of Hummer Lady's smile, there is healing. In the very presence of being. And you suddenly realize you need to do nothing. You may want to be there with the person because it's a wonderful feeling and it's reassuring. You may want to move your hands and feel sensation because it feels great. It's like bringing a child down to the ocean and showing them how to play in the warm water or the sand. But there's no technique. There is no technique. Not if you truly want to facilitate healings. There's no division. I've learned this technique and that technique and the others, but what haven't I learned? I'm moving exactly 3 inches away from the body, like I forget, Jin Shin Shitsu says, but what if I move 4 inches away? Am I doing it right? Am I doing it wrong? All these security healing is love. It is not fear, although ultimately fear really is love because it's the fear of not being loved. But that's a whole other conversation. We can have it a different time. Those of you who had a near-death experience, it's one of two things. Either you knew it and or you know it. For others, it may be theory. This is part of the reason. We've been having our people who've learned reconnective healing function for us as teachers around the world. And that's nice. But this is part of the reason I want to do this again. I have to do this again. I live for seeing you see. I live for seeing you get it. To be there for the questions, for the interactions, to say, stop trying to do something for tonsillitis. Just be in the knowingness that this intelligence knows where to go, knows what to do, if we just allow it. Allow yourself to recognize. Allow yourself to recognize yourself. And then suddenly you are everyone and everything. People can feel. We can play the feeling game here. It's kind of actually nice in a minute. Here, let's play the feeling game for half a second. Open your fingers in one of your hands, kind of like this. Don't stretch them really hard. Just kind of let them open gently, enough where you sort of feel maybe a slight stretch to the skin on your palm. Now, do that with your other hand. Just let it pull, let it stretch a little. And then, so hold your left hand still again, and allow your right hand to sort of glide in front of it, slowly like I'm doing. A little bit down, then come back up, and then pass it again. What do you feel when your hand is up here above that hand? What do you notice, if anything, is different when it's opposite the hand? What change might you notice when it's below the hand? Then when you bring it back up, just notice for yourself. What if you had to move to your right hand sort of in a circle? Just move it in one direction in a circular pattern in front of your left palm. What might you notice? Reverse the direction your right hand is moving in. What might you notice? Now pull your right hand further away, but keep it parallel there. What might you notice? Now move your right hand in a little circular pattern one way or the other, then change it. What might you notice? And what if you just stare at the fingers in your left hand now, holding your right hand here? Just watch them. Just watch the fingers in your left hand. How many of you can notice some movement in the fingers of your left hand when you do this? Raise your hand up in the screen so I can see. Uh-huh. Okay. Did I tell you we're going to do something now and then you're going to see this big surprise? Your fingers are going to start to move. Did I plant a seed? No. It's just who you are. And as a seed yourself, you burst through the soil. And then you can't help but share it with people. Some people want to do it as a profession. Great. Fair financial exchange is a wonderful thing for energy. It allows people to feel enough in balance to accept and receive the healing sometimes, especially if you don't know them. Or maybe if you do, I don't know. And then you don't have to do it as a profession. You might just want to be that person who's there when one of your friends or someone in your family, immediate or further, needs something. You might just want your own healing. That's part of why I say, there's a lot to be said for being immersed in these healing frequencies, the energy, light, and information of reconnective healing for a weekend, even just for yourself, and you leave with the gift of being able to share. There's so much of this that I want to share with you, and I keep thinking, I didn't tell them about these things. I didn't tell them about that. I didn't tell them what happened. And so, oh well. If you want to hear it, you can read or get the audio version of the first book, The Reconnection. It is very different than the second book, which is Solomon Speaks on Reconnecting Your Life. That's the information that came through the first patient and many of my others. Over 50 different patients lost consciousness and channeled in these same verbatim 6 sentences for the first 3 months. Just lost consciousness. They didn't even believe me. I would bring my patients, down the hallways from the other one when someone was channeling and bringing through these voices. And I'd go, shh, listen. And when they opened their eyes and we told them what they said, you mean you said that to me and I said that to you? No, I didn't. And the other people go, uh-huh. And you know what? Not everyone loved it. Not everyone loved it. Some people were annoyed. Some people were angry about it. I said, I don't know what you're getting angry at me for. You're the one talking. Some people were patients of mine for 10, 12 years. Some people called me from a phone booth. I mean, across the street. Well, actually, can you remember phone booths? But anyway, looked my number up in the telephone book. Who remembers telephone books? But anyway, and then came in because I was closest and lying there on the table. I adjust them. I hold my hands near them. And all of a sudden the voice starts, we are here to tell you to continue. It's like, holy shit, what's happening? And I remember one time, I'll tell you this funny little story. I remember one time I went to, I wanted to find out what was going on. And so I think most of us remember, now I'm blanking on her name. Famous actress from the movie where everyone died at the end. The daughter died. They were sick. It was a love tearjerker. She has her brother who's not, or brother's Warren Beatty. What's her name?
Shirley MacLaine.
That's it. So Shirley MacLaine, sorry. And it just, it happens when you get older. So I went somewhere and Shirley MacLaine's psychic was giving a presentation and I want answers. I want to know what's going on. So it was a strange kind of a room setup. It was as if it was 2 rooms angled like this. So this is a room full of people. This is a room full of people. Okay, I'll do it that way. And there was a stage here where my mouth is. On stage, okay, so the speaker was there on the stage, would look down into this room, look down into that room. You knew there were people in the other room, but you could only see half the room at the time, right? So finally I raised my hand to ask him a question. And I said, well, this is what happens. And I know I can't tell this whole story. So I just went real quickly. Da-da, woman did this, held my hands near them, voices started coming out, healing in wheelchairs, da-da-da-da-da. What do you think? So he's looking at me, just about to talk to me because I'm over in this room. And all we can see from this room is his head turns. And he points to someone. The other room, don't know who. And I say, my patients are leaving and they're scared or they're angry and da-da-da-da. He points to someone over there, raises her hand, and I hear this woman's voice go, And I was one of them. And I actually even recognized her voice. Um, I left. She left. She was, scared. She was angry. It's not that people are trying. It's that people in various ways, whether or not intended, were allowing. You can't try. You cannot try. Effort gets in the way. Even talking about it and using the word, thinking the word in our minds, oh, I want to try, I want to try. I'm going to allow. Let go of want. When you hear want, it means you're not there. You don't have it. You're trying, you're not there, you don't have it. I'm going to allow. And then allow. What's the worst thing that could happen? Nothing. You know? It's like with healings, different than medication. The worst thing that could happen is nothing. There are no adverse health effects. There are no adverse effects to healing. You don't have to take 3 other drugs to get rid of the effect from the first one. You've got nothing to lose. Anyway, I'm sorry. I talked and talked and talked. I know it's supposed to be over at 4, and I know I'm supposed to open for questions. And so I will hang with you if you want to ask questions. Okay? I don't know how you do it. I don't know if you want to punch them in or if visually, I can go back and forth between the 2 rooms and see whose hand is raised and call on you. Up to you.
Generally, we do it on with a chat with
Go
the
ahead.
chat box, but
I'm here.
um,
You are right to keep talking, or do we have to stop in 3 minutes?
we don't have to stop right on schedule. We can go a little bit longer.
Sure. I will tell you, for those of you who want information, you'll see in the bio is our website. It's reconnectivehealing.com or thereconnection.com. So you can reach us all there for your questions. Now, here I am for the questions you have sitting here. Please don't ask me what to do for herpes or some kind of a symptomatic thing. Just talk about healing. What's the strangest thing I said? What doesn't make sense? What does? What would you like to make sense, but you're not sure if you can? Just ask me anything.
It's funny.
You don't have to ask me if I'm gay now.
That's really interesting. That came up because this week I had some interesting interchanges with people about how we are all sexes, all of us. If you're not male in this life, like me, I'm female in this life. I've been male in other lives. I've had past life bleed through in this life of a male life that I had in
Right.
when I fought in the Civil War and was very much in love with a soulmate who is a woman in this life who I found in this life. And I'm not a lesbian, but I've never loved anybody more in my life than I've loved this woman.
Listen, love is love. Yes,
Love
there's
is love, exactly.
physical
It doesn't
attraction. There's
matter.
physical attraction. I got it. And more times than not, it might be to the opposite sex, but love is love. I have
That's
never,
right.
I have never, and don't believe I ever could again, experienced the love that I have now with Jillian. It wasn't that, oh, one day I was gay, one day I was straight. No, I'm in love.
It's love.
It's love.
It doesn't matter.
And nothing calls you from that.
Right.
Nothing calls you from that. Anyway, questions, thoughts, chat. You can put it in the chat if you want.
And not, I don't, I've never run this before, but it doesn't behave like it does usually.
Oh, look, I see a chat box opening. I see Neela says, thank you, Dr. Pearl, for your talk. I have to leave. Heidi says, fabulous talk. Thank you. David said, it's so funny how God arranged the woman on the beach, isn't it? Yeah, really. I actually thought it was a setup by the woman
I
working
don't see any of
by
that.
my nanny. Go down to the bottom, bring your cursor way down to the bottom, and then you'll see something that says chat and
I
click.
know. I
It
click it
looks like
and it doesn't come on.
I've got it. So if you do have questions, you can punch it in the chat. If you want to wave your hands, I'll see you and I'll call on your name, and then you can talk and unmute yourself.
Oh, yeah.
But the thing is about healing is formless. We keep approaching it through form. We're even using our words to discuss it. Words are form. Words tell you that something is hard or cold or temperature or texture. But really, we're just shining a light in a direction that allows you and all of us to see something. It's just the light. Simply the light.
Wow.
I'm not seeing hands, and maybe part of that is because we've been really sharing on a level of formless. And our questions are words, which are form. The music occurs between the notes. You know, there's healing happening right here. And I invite you to send into Diane. Will I reach you that way? However you want to reach someone and
Yeah.
share,
Doc,
afterwards.
docflute@gmail.com is my.
Why don't you punch it in the chat if you want? .flute@gmail.com.
I don't know. I can't get chat to work. I don't know why.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure.
Can
It's
put it in
do
for you, Diane.
what? What? Somebody
Say
just
Liel, I
Flute at
can put it
gmail.com.
flute@gmail.com. Easy.
docflute@gmail.com is maybe the easiest
Right.
one.
So DOC, like the first three
Dot flute
letters,
at gmail.
doctor.
And flute, the musical instrument, no punctuation at gmail.com.
Wonderful.
There it is, and you don't need a capital. And
No.
No.
my computer put in a space between the @ and the gmail.com. So when you email Diane, there's no
Get rid of
space.
that space. Or maybe you can back it up. Okay. So
I can
No spaces.
peeking
put
here.
it in again. Let's see.
I can't see it, so I don't know why I can't see it, except that this is not what I'm used to doing. So
Worry. It'll all work out. It just
it
all really
will work
does.
out.
So Mary R says, as you were speaking, I thought I felt healing energy being shared among us.
I
I
did
know,
too.
I know you did. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You know, feeling, it's all about feeling. But feeling doesn't mean you cognitively have to feel it that way.
It's all about feeling.
It's like sitting in a chair. You might not be feeling the chair if your attention is somewhere else. It doesn't mean the chair is gone. If it were, you'd collapse on the floor, right? So I might not be able to see the color of the wall behind me if I weren't looking in that camera. It doesn't mean the color isn't there. You might be walking down the street with someone who's your friend says, "Oh, do you hear that?" And you go, "Hear what?" "The music." "I don't hear any music." "Listen." "Oh, yeah." We've been receiving the whole time the vibration and the resonance. Sarah wrote, please do not let me interrupt your magnificent talk. Are you teaching again soon? You know what? I really don't know. I don't have anything. We don't have anything scheduled. Maybe next year, but right now the only thing we have scheduled is this last Saturday, Sunday, and you can extend it into Monday and Tuesday also, if you want, in this month, September, in downtown Chicago. Ben wrote, "What is the secret of the universe?" That's good, Ben. When you find that, when you come back, let me know. What is the secret of the universe? Do you think our education system is blocking us from knowing who we really are? You know, absolutely. I know that when I went to school a long time ago, but I know that other people younger than I, still 20s, 30s, I don't believe that there is enough proper training and education and evaluation before these people are allowed to really come in and affect, especially our very young children when they're teaching. There are lots of things I remember having done that just shouldn't be. And there are things that I've heard from my parents that wouldn't have been done now and will be better again in the next decade and the next one. But yes, I do feel that it's really important, who we have teaching and the system that we are having. So thank you for bringing that up. C.S. Rod says, Dr. Pearl, you've made it so clear that I now understand how my ego has been blocking the truth. I guess I was finally ready to hear it. Isn't that funny? I find times when I hear something, I go, wow, it's taken me this long. Wow, it's taken me that long. And we push things away, but also sometimes trying to bring something, push something in, pull something in. Effort also pushes it away.
Yes.
Just and when we say we want something, we're saying we don't have it. Faith, hope, and belief are beautiful words, but I don't know that we're really paying attention to what they do. So I'm looking at all of you right now, okay? Well, most of you are sitting down somewhere. So how many of you have faith that you're wearing the clothes that you're wearing? You have faith you're wearing them, or do you just know it? How many of you believe that you're on camera here wearing the clothes that you're wearing? Do you believe it, or do you know it? How many of you hope that you're on camera here wearing the clothes that you're wearing? Well, I'm sure we all hope that we're wearing clothes. But the point is, or do we know it? Faith, hope, and belief are steps toward something. Remaining in them keeps you from that. It keeps you going back to our gorgeous religious institutions if we want, but toward what? And when do we become that? So here's a simple example. If you were standing 5 feet in front of me, I'm going to say, okay, show me a technique with how you can be right here with me. You can say, okay, you can step halfway because 5 feet is a lot to take in one step. Step halfway. Good. Step halfway again, and you're closer. Step halfway again, and you're closer. And you keep stepping halfway. And the truth is, you are getting closer. So what is the lie or the illusion? That you're ever going to get there. That's the illusion. Why? Because each time you step only halfway. At some point in time, we need to allow our technique to dissolve so that we can arrive really into who we are and have been all along. One. So, Mary R. writes, what healing practices do you use for yourself? Is there something you do on a daily basis? It's always in my cognizant awareness about healing. So it's hard. From the very first day that this showed up, it was there. I mean, I was changed and forever changed. And guess what? You're forever changed too. I hope you like it because there's no going back.
Yeah.
You know, when the 6 phrases came through that my first patient started channeling, and over 50 different patients of mine channeled 6 verbatim phrases over that 3-month period. I just found myself, they were playing in my head like mantras, not intentionally, but I couldn't avoid them. The first one was, we're here to tell you to continue doing what you're doing. Well, that's nice, really, because we are here on a continuum as a continuation. What you're doing is bringing light and information onto the planet. You are doing that. And they said, what you're doing is reconnecting strings. What you're doing is reconnecting strands. I wasn't quite sure what that is. Wasn't quite sure what that meant at the time, but I knew that when I was trying to give the first seminar and I didn't have a name for this and I didn't want to give it a name. I said, Reconnective Healing. I said, healing. I didn't have the name Reconnective Healing. Healing doesn't have a name. A name is the box. You say, it is this in the box, and it's not that. And it's done. And I knew 2 things quite well. I knew that A, I absolutely did not know what this was. And B, I absolutely did not know what this was not. And if we're there, look what opens up for us. And in that recognition, you will find that every healing that you facilitate will be your first. Each one. Every healing that you receive will be your first. So what healing practices do I use for myself? I facilitate healings, and you can't facilitate a healing without being in your own healing. It's just not possible. You can't separate it any more than you can separate the front of a coin from the back of the coin, even if you manage to divide it that way, because you've got the right tools. Then you've got two coins, each with a front and each with a back. So what I do is I allow myself to feel. Just even that little exercise we shared with our hands. Feel. Receive. You are receivers. Well, where are we receiving from? It doesn't work that way. It's not a dualistic thing. For you to receive here doesn't mean you receive from somewhere, because there is nowhere other than here. There's no time other than now. What did Ram Dass call his book? Something about that. Be here now. There's nothing. You are just this. Can you demonstrate? Everyone talks great and always say buy the book. Not trying to be rude. Julie, let me say first, don't buy the book. Book's been around, that book's been around for 25 years. You know, it's in 40 some languages. Don't buy it. Go look if you went on Amazon, and I think you can probably flip through and read some pages. If it talks to you, it talks to you. I would joke to people, I said, I've never read it. And I really kind of didn't. You know what I do is I would have it around, I'd see it somewhere where I'm teaching or in my home. And every once in a while, 3 months, 6 months, would go by, I'd look at it, I'd open it to somewhere, I'd read a couple of sentences, and I'd go, wow, did I really write that? That's pretty good. And close the book and walk away. So believe me, you don't need to learn that way. You're already awakening to more of the healer that you are just in this sharing. So Julie, maybe that's enough for you. No, I'm not going to stand here and try to demonstrate anything. I'm not really sure how I would even do that here on the video. I've got ways, but I'd have to ask everyone if they have this, that, and the other, then check it out, try to facilitate something, see what comes about. And I'm not opposed to that, but that's really, since we're already over in time, I don't think I'm going to do that right now, but there might be some on the internet. Any other questions or thoughts for anybody, or just a share?
I have to say, Eric, I am just blown away by you every time I hear you talk. I feel what you say, your words are so resonant in my head and in my body and in my spirit, that I am so grateful and feel so blessed that you're on the planet, and we have the great good fortune to have you up close and
So
personal.
sweet. Thank you, Diane. I really appreciate you saying that. But we all have this information. Sometimes we just don't trust ourselves to find it and share it. I had no idea. I think I told you what I was going to talk about when I came on. I went, okay, I got 2 hours. I'm sure something will come out. I don't like to plan what I'm supposed to talk about. I really don't like it. And I've done that, a lot. They say, come and speak on this and speak on that. So I'd make some notes and I'd do it, but I forget them. Even when I was a chiropractor and I knew that, and I'd sit on a panel with other healthcare practitioners and people would come to hear the different presenters. And I had my notes in front of me. Even with my notes, I would choke. I couldn't find the words. But you see, reconnective healing just showed up for me, or my recognition did. It just did. There's nothing to memorize, facts, data, anything. All I can do is share my truth and allow you to receive it on whatever level feels right for you.
Beautiful.
But thank you for inviting me. And maybe we won't go quite so long before we do another IANDS interaction. How's that? And maybe I'll see some of you, in September. I know it's close, it's
That would
like
be
2
wonderful.
weeks away, but we're here in Chicago, and what the hell?
Yeah, we have him close. Take advantage of it. Take advantage of it. It was wonderful. I thank you so much.
Absolutely my pleasure.
Uh, I,
We came here, I was just saying, Jillian and I came here just to be quiet ourselves, so leave the cities and the traveling and everything for so long and just
Where are
be.
you?
Then we would about an hour outside of Chicago in the countryside. And then I was happy just doing distance sessions with people. And then one of our people who had taken the training programs has this, I think the art gallery, it's called Inner Haven, yeah, INNER, Inner Haven, and it's in Grays Lake. And I don't know, every couple of months or something, we'll say, okay, book 3 days there, and we'll come in and Jillian and I will facilitate healing sessions. So if you want in-person ones, you can certainly, contact us through the website and see if there are any. I don't know that I've got dates there yet. I might. I'm sorry, Diana, what were you saying?
No, that's what I
Oh.
was. That's wonderful, 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 wonderful. Oh, I hate to close it off. I could go
I
on
love
all
being
night.
with all of you too. I know, I know, I know. I
I
wonder, do I know you, Marsha G? I don't know. It's only a picture, so she might not answer me. You look so
No,
familiar to me,
no,
but
you don't know me.
what? No?
No, but I am in Chicago though.
Oh, you look
So
just
maybe our
familiar.
paths passed at some point. I don't know. And I'm
Possible.
a healthcare practitioner too. So
Oh, cool.
yeah.
Wonderful. Welcome.
So many lovely faces and beings. I kind of hate to go, but I know we've all got schedules and lives.
I got a message on the screen. Now, as I said, this is the first time I've ever facilitated with the Zoom part of this. And
Uh,
it says a participant has asked that you start AI companion. Who asked for that, and what does that mean? What I didn't start it because Vicky told me not to, just to ignore it.
I don't know what it is.
Okay, well, if somebody knows how to work Zoom
Mhm.
and Wix and is willing to help Chicago IANDS, please email me and volunteer because we need a backup person, clearly. We've had some difficulties making things work the last couple of months, and I need help if we're going to continue. I'm 82, and I don't know how much longer I can do this, but it's getting increasingly difficult doing the fact that bodies wear out eventually, no matter what you do, no matter how healed you are, you can't last forever. But we do need help if we're gonna. And I've told my guides run the meetings, and I've told them, I give them complete control, and they they order me around, and I just do what I'm told. They choose our speakers. They've done a magnificent job over the 20 something 25 or so years that I've been doing this every month. And but we need some help here in in the office.
And asking is a perfect way, especially when you know that you're in a crowd that's all love and support and they can bring their own support or may know someone to recommend to you.
That would be really, really helpful.
I also noticed that here in so far the last chat that I see, it says my-innerhaven.com. So someone has posted the direct way
Wonderful.
you can get to Inner Haven if you want. But again, just you can also find out all this. Just follow us, go to the reconnection.com or reconnectivehealing.com and the information's there.
Okay, so I think we can probably
We can.
stop the recording.
I hate to go.
You don't have to go.
As you can tell.
I'm
Okay.
see you all next month, hopefully. Stop